All right, peace and blessings, peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum, shalom. Welcome everybody. Welcome to the Doc and the Radical program today. Peace and blessings, Doc. How you doing?
I'm good, my brother. I'm good. I'm good. Glad to be here. Glad to be
Definitely.
in this number, man.
Yes, sir. And so we got the deacons of reality in the house. They were in the house before we were.
Uh-oh.
Yes. Okay, so our topic today, or our title for today is your behavior, your appetite will be a reflection of your freedom. And so, Doc, when you hear that, what do you think about that?
Your appetite? Go through that again for me, brother.
Yes. Your behavior, your appetite will be a reflection of your freedom.
Well, I measure people by how they behave when there is no immediate consequence to what it is that they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if there's an immediate consequence, people are going to, behave a certain way, but give them free rein and say, just go ahead and do whatever it is that you want to do. And that is where you're really going to get a barometer and an understanding of who they are as people and what it is that they stand for. The idea of freedom, the idea of you being able to behave in any way, even according to how our ancestors used to put it, don't go down there showing your color. It reflects who you are at your core. What you're actually made of.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And in terms of our freedom as a people, when I hear our people say things like, "Oh, the white man ain't gonna let you do that," or "Oh, you can't do that," you got this that's gonna stop you. You're this, you're that, and it's so all of these limitations, that are being placed on you, it stops your forward progress, right? You're not able to go nowhere because you have these superficial things that control, your destiny.
Yeah, I mean, we're really talking about self-imposed limitations. And so the question becomes, what is it that imposed those limitations upon you? And for many people, I don't believe that it's white folk who are placing those limitations upon you directly.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that you're coming from a long line of individuals who, for lack of better terms, were either inefficient or cowardly. And you've grown up seeing that.
Mm-hmm.
And you've grown up hearing the idea, well, they ain't gonna let you do that. Well, I don't know what you're thinking about doing that. Boy, you crazy. You trying to do X, Y, and Z. And the truth of the matter is that quite simply, we're limiting ourselves. And now that's not to say that there aren't significant obstacles and issues that we have to deal with solely because of race, solely because of being of whatever it is, being born poor or working class, your parental situation. But there's something about the psyche of the coward, the non-believer, because let's be honest, that many of these people that we're talking about are individuals who are churchified. is God, this is Jesus, this is it. But when it comes your time to stand up and to really step out on faith, you can't do it because there is a God in your mind higher than the God that you go and worship. And that God is, some people call it the white man, some people call it fear, some people call it doubt. But it rules everything that they think about and the things that they unfortunately never attempt to even do or accomplish.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, exactly. We want to welcome again Deacons of Reality. We're going to welcome Brother Willie Rivers. Thank y'all for joining the program today.
Welcome.
And you know, Doctor, I want to jump on that, what you just said. I was on TikTok a few days ago. And, you know, I was going through the messages that I had on there because I don't really go on there that often, but I was going through there. And it was one lady who was a Reverend Sanchez. And she was like, you know, you want money? I got money to offer you. You know, if you want it, I got money to offer you. And so I'm like, now what kind of foolishness is this? So I respond, I say, yeah, I need money. You know, I'm trying to run a business. I need money. She says, well, how much money do you need? So I said, I need about 20,000. That'll get me good. She replies, okay, I got 5,000 right now, but I'll get you the other 15,000. So I said, okay, well, what do you need from me? She said, I don't need anything. So I said, okay. Then she responds with, now you need, I send the money out on a vanilla Visa card. So you got to go to the store and get a purchase a vanilla Visa card so I can upload the money onto there. So I'm like, okay, no problem. I got you. So she says, well, have you left yet? So I left. I'm gone. I'm on my way to the store. I should be there shortly. Now, of course, all this time, I'm not gone. I'm right here at my computer following along with this foolishness. And so I tell her, I say, okay, I'm here. I'm at the store and I'm purchasing the vanilla card. I say, but you know, it's telling me that I got to load the card. And the response say, yeah, you got to load the card with $25 to start off, but just go ahead and take care of it. Don't worry, because you about to get 5,000. I say, is there any other information that you're going to need from me? And they're like, no, I don't need no other information. Oh, okay, all right. Then she says, do you go to church? I say, yeah, I go to church. She said, are you sure you go to church? I said, yeah, I go to church on Tuesday and Sunday. Every week I go to church, Tuesday and Sunday. She replies back, okay, good. I'm glad to hear that you go to church. You go to church every Tuesday and Sunday. It's very important that you go to church. So I'm like, okay, no problem. Then I say, hey, the manager is saying that I could be a victim of fraud. And she's like, don't pay no attention to the manager. Just go ahead and buy it. I say, well, the manager wants to speak with me in the office. And I think they're going to call the police. Then the next thing she read was, run. Don't stay in the store.
She said, you still there?
I can't run. The police are here now. You know, so when I said police are here now, she stopped responding. So I send another text like I'm the police, and I'm like, this is Officer Benson. Who is this that's sending this text message? Been quiet. Ain't said nothing else. And so I told it to my daughter, Darshan. I told her what had happened. And I asked her, I said, why do you think that the person doubled down with, do you go to church? Are you a Christian? Why was that so important that she wanted that from me? And, Darshan thinking, and she's like, I don't know, Daddy, I don't know. I said, because what you will find, most people out here want something for nothing.
Yeah.
And when you get an opportunity, somebody say, I'm going to give you some money. But yet then I need the numbers, I need the 16 digits and the date and all this. And once I give you that, you got my money. And I said, it's easy to swindle people because they're looking for something for nothing. And there's nothing that's like that in this world today. We have to be wise and on point.
I won't say which family member it is, but I have a close family member um, who was what they refer to as a confidence man. Okay. And he was good. Okay. I mean, he was good. He could get you. And so there was a time when I was living with him and his wife. And we just happened to have this conversation. And he said, what's the single most important factor in a con? And I'm like, no. He said, greed. You cannot con people who are not trying to get something for nothing. He said, but if they're trying to get something for nothing, if they're trying to get up, he said, you can get them every time, every single time. He said, just remember that. And I'm like, what you trying to tell me? He said, just remember that. He said, life gonna throw some challenges at you. He said, but that's it right there. Greed. That if they have greed and they're trying to get something for nothing, you can get them.
Definitely. I want to also welcome our more people to the chat, to the program. We got the Forecast Radio, peace and blessings, bro. We got Twin Pyramid, peace and blessings, and we got Mellow Cat, peace and blessings to everybody there in the audience. We thank you all for joining us. And so, Doc, since we know freedom isn't free, and in order to be real free, what do you think that price is? How much does it cost? What is the price of true freedom?
I think that true freedom is actually going to flow from a couple of different avenues: hard work, diligence, commitment, faith, belief in something, and really having developed your worldview and your character to a point where you stand on this, you stand on your rock, and that's what it is. But one of the prerequisites to really being free, because being free also includes this idea of being able to, quote unquote, speak truth to power, as they put it. One has got to have some financial independence, because without financial independence, you can't tell them what you really think. Because at the end of the day, right over, they have something over your head, and that is quite simply removing that paycheck, removing that money that you need, and you're going to have to swallow your pride and hem and haw at some moments if you're not independent almost in every single way possible. So freedom is most definitely put being cheap. Freedom ain't free. He wasn't lying. There's a lot of things that have to go into, and even being independently wealthy does not guarantee freedom, because I've seen some of our people be independently wealthy, and I'm talking about people who are bringing in a couple million a year, and they're still living paycheck to paycheck because they got caught up within the system of designer goods and things like that, and their spending is outrageous.
Wow. Definitely. I was listening to Brother Bakari's program the other day on YouTube, and I was trying to get in, but I couldn't get in. He had shared the link, but I couldn't get on. But I was listening, and I heard one of his panelists say that looks like we lost Doc, so let's give him a second to see if he get back in before I continue with what I'm going to say. All right, here we go. All right, got you back.
All right.
So like I said, I was on Brother Bakari's in his chat listening to his program the other day, and one of the brothers that was on there was talking about the homosexuals, and
Hmm.
he was like, regular people that's not gay, regular black people that's not gay, we are the minority. It is more gay black people than it is straight black people. So, we got to move kind of differently because we are the minority. And I didn't agree with him. So I had put in the chat that that's not true, and shared a link. But, I think that it's so important that those of us that get on these platforms and try to share a message that will awaken and make our people accept their responsibility to change. I think that we should always make sure that we speak from a position that we should have a little bit more facts in
Hmm.
our grasp. And
Hmm.
so, because there's not the majority of black people, there's 40 million black people in America. And not the majority of that 40 million is in the LGBTQ club. That doesn't add out. So I did a little research, and I'm going to share screen so you can look at this, because I think it's important. You see my screen, Dot?
Yes, sir.
Okay, because it is really important that we as a people move with actual facts, or
Yeah.
close thing to actual facts as we can get, before we go out and saying things that are not true and give our people a different view from reality,
Yeah.
right? So this Williams Institute, their School of Law at UCLA, they did a study, and this comes up with 1.2 million Black LGBT adults live in the U.S.
Hmm.
Now, with if we're taking their numbers as an actual fact, or as
Okay.
the closest thing to facts as we got,
Hmm.
so 40 million is what we have on the record books, and out of 40 million, there's only 1.2 million that are gay, live in the LGBTQ environment. So, we
But
who,
this is dealing with just adults.
yes,
Okay.
yes, just adults. Um, and I don't even think what's do you? I don't think that a child is smart enough to really define their sexuality other than what they were actually born as. I don't think that children are able to make that clear, concise decision of, I'm a female today,
Yeah.
regardless to what I'm born as. What's your thoughts on
Yeah. But see, the thing for me is I agree with what it is you're saying,
that? Hmm.
but so much of it is predicated upon the idea of, as you put it, how I feel on this
Hmm.
day. And there's so much that goes into one's gender identity, one's worldview, one's even political perspective, that reliance upon feel, reliance upon, at this present moment, this is how I feel.
Hmm.
um I'm a person who doesn't trust feelings. I don't trust emotions. There's some mornings, and I'm sure that many people in our audience would agree upon with this. There's some mornings I wake up, I don't even like myself, let
Hmm.
alone the idea of the outside world. So no, I don't find that valid, that they feel a certain way. And there's a whole nother discussion that really does have to occur in regards to what is the tipping point, in regards to what you identify yourself as. How do
Hmm.
you discern that? How do you go through that? And we're only at the very, 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 very tip of the iceberg of this issue. They're going to deal with this issue for centuries,
Hmm.
past even our existence. This thing is far from settled, and it's that moment, that Terrell Owens moment when he joined the only real NFL football team, the Dallas Cowboys. Say, get your popcorn ready, okay? Because it's about to be a show. This is going to be a show. We have nothing is settled in regards to this yet.
Mm-hmm.
There was a national news um, broadcast about a 13-year-old girl. I think she's 13, 14 years old, who is now suing the hospital and the doctors who removed her breast because she woke up feeling as if she was a male, a boy in a girl's body.
Oh
And
wow.
her parents and her, they allowed her to go ahead with the surgery. Now she's a couple years older and she's regretting it. And
Mm,
ironically, she's suing the hospital and the doctors who did the surgery.
mm. Wow. Yeah, that should never be. Children can't make that kind of decision. They know exactly what it is that they're doing. Um,
Well, they're allowing
there's just no way.
kids. Remember the story that we looked at, and the child was 3 or 4 years old and was guiding its parents through gender
Hmm.
reassignment. They're 3 or 4 years old.
Exactly. 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 And Doc, I want us to go and look at this video because immigrants, the illegals, we talked about the situation in Chicago where the black community was standing up and saying, no, you're not bringing that foolishness here.
Hmm.
Now we find out that they're trying to make them police officers.
Mm.
They ain't even citizens, but they're going to be police officers. Let's go to the video so you can look at it. And let's come back and talk about this.
House Bill 3751 in Illinois has passed through the state, House, and Senate, basically saying that non US citizens, immigrants, can become police officers and deputies, even though on the federal level it says that they need to be US citizens. But the bill is saying, well, since they are already in healthcare and in the military, they should be able to become police officers too. But my thing is this: we know how the immigrants feel about Black people, specifically coming from places like Mexico. So can you imagine them being police officers or overseers? Because that's what police officers are to Black people here in America. So I don't see that working out well. What about y'all? House Bill 3751 in Illinois has passed through.
So there you go, Doc. We talk about House Bill 1151 in Illinois has passed. And now they're allowing the migrants, illegal aliens, to be a part of police forces. Yes, they are in the military. They do get to serve in the military.
Hmm.
When I was in, I served with a few, and I didn't realize that they weren't even citizens. So we got into a conversation,
Hmm.
and they would let me know, well, we're not even citizens of the United States. And I'm like, you ain't a citizen of the United States, but you ready to give your life
Yeah.
for a country that ain't yours, that you ain't, that at the
Or,
moment that you finish, you go home.
or
You
willing
know,
to or
and
willing to make a bet of financial compensation versus the chances that I will get killed.
exactly, exactly. And that's really crazy to me. So now we're in a situation where it already passed the Senate there in Illinois.
Hmm.
So we can look maybe next 6 months, maybe a year at max. Up in Chicago, there will be illegal immigrants,
Hmm.
so to say, as police officers, patrolling the streets of Chicago, patrolling Black communities. They have the power to execute and take your life.
Hmm.
To me, that this is a big problem. What's your thoughts on that, Doc?
You know, I don't see it as such a big problem because I believe in community policing. I believe that each group should have its own cadre of police officers that monitors their section. So the illegal Mexican officers should be dealing with their people. That's where their interests lie, and that's who they would probably serve best in regards to not only keeping crime down, but also a situation where they can help them get social services and what have you. Black folk need to have their own. You should not be allowed to patrol an area of town that you don't live in. You need to know those people. And so I don't see much difference between the idea of, it doesn't matter to me the race. As long as they're a foreign population in regards to black folk, they shouldn't have the power of life and death in their hands. And we've seen that repeatedly. We all know individuals and have probably seen situations that ended in lethal violence or someone really being harmed, and the whole thing was totally unnecessary. The one crucial factor that was involved in this is the officer was afraid.
Mm.
We're usually not afraid of our own. We can usually talk to our own. So let them be police officers, but they gotta patrol their people in their area. They can't come into other areas and patrol those areas. But that's a discussion about community policing that this nation isn't ready to have, because the idea of being a police officer is in many ways a very lucrative position that many people outside of our community have used to take care of their children, their families, and build their own pension and retirement. So I don't see a big problem with it. I just don't think they should be allowed to patrol us. If they patrol us, it's going to be a disaster.
Yeah, well, they are definitely coming and will be patrolling our communities where we live.
So where's the leadership, the foresight, the insight from the black elected officials in Chi-Town?
There isn't. They're step and fetch with them.
Yeah, that's a problem right there.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I could see, really, I can actually see that where the section where they're wanting to force these or put the immigrants in Chicago, where black people are saying, no, we don't want you.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to wind up being put there.
Yeah.
And then, if they're there for any length of time, and by the time the policing starts, and they got the immigrant policing coming up, and I could really see a standoff, shots fired, fighting going back and forth.
Yeah.
This thing can be ugly, Doc.
Mm-hmm.
This thing can be ugly in a real short time.
Yeah, and we can't forget that. I'm a Panther historian. That when we see black folk moving as a result of Pearl Harbor after World War II to California, especially the Bay Area and also Los Angeles, any place where black folk were going to concentrate. But I'll talk about the Bay Area. The white leadership in the Bay Area put out a concentrated recruiting campaign. They wanted officers from the Deep South, Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, Florida, to come out there, paid them droves and droves of money because they felt that they would be able to handle the incoming black Southern immigrant better. They knew how to deal with them. You could see something very similar here with these people using these old, I call them old country crimes and old country policing. It could get very ugly.
That is a real deal. And then, Doc, we also have, what I want to call in this powder keg, you have Trump being indicted again down in Florida.
Yeah.
Being indicted in New York City.
Yeah.
And you got his people coming out protesting, we did da. Now, I believe when you're dealing with the Trump people, they ain't gonna waste time keep yapping and yapping. No. They're gonna pick up something and bust you upside their head with it, And so you got this coming together of forces.
Yep.
In this mixing pot with a potential of a great big explosion. How do you see all of this coming together?
The perfect storm, and the thing is that we could probably name, just off the top of our heads, 20 to 25 different racial groups or groupings and ethnic identities and what have you, that if you put just two or three of them together, it's going to be an explosion. Malcolm talked about America has been straddling a powder keg, a racial powder keg, and all we need to have it ignited is what? A slight spark. That's what we're headed for, if we're not there already. I mean, you saw what happened down near Virginia Tech.
Right.
What a crazy white boy got. He got in a Dodge Charger, floored it into a crowd of individuals. One of the most powerful streetcars that we know, and ran it into human bodies.
Exactly.
There's something to be said for people who get involved in groups and lose their mind.
Definitely.
And let's be honest. We live in a very violent nation, very violent, and that violence, as H. Rap Brown put it, violence in America is as American as apple pie, as cherry pie. He said, so the violence is there, the precedent is there, and we have the means to be violent too, which should scare everyone.
Exactly. And one thing that you always hear when you're seeing these fight videos and stuff like that, when it's two different races, black and white or whatever, you hear, what's going on? Why is this? What is this? And this is not the time for you not to understand what the hell is going on. You better be awake.
Yeah.
Because it just takes a fraction of a second, and next thing you know, it's on and popping.
Yeah.
So we definitely have to make sure that we're awake, we understand, we see what's going on, and we're able to respond. And even better than responding, you better be pre-prepared.
Yeah.
You better be pre-prepared.
You better stay ready, so you ain't got to get ready.
Exactly. Now, Doc, we also talked about where the Haitians was rising up and fighting back the gangs in Haiti because they were fed up. Well, there's also a situation with the Koreans that they're now fighting their police force because they're fed up. They're fed up with the abuse and the misuse of power, and so dealing with them, they're beating up the police now. They're taking matters into their own hands. They're taking control of their destiny. Now, we don't know exactly how far this is going to go, but it seems like we're seeing a pattern now that's taking place in different sections of the planet, of the earth. What's your thoughts on this?
Power to the people. You're dealing with people who are fed up and have decided to go ahead and begin to craft their day-to-day existence and life according to the way that they deem it to be appropriate and responsible. It's predictable. I mean, when you go back and actually, I was speaking about this a little earlier during a lecture in my class. When you look at the rise of Adolf Hitler and the National Socialist Party, the Nazi Party, the rallying point for them was actually cleaning up Germany. They were cleaning up the streets. They were getting rid of drug dealers, getting rid of prostitutes, and what have you. They started off as a very, very, very positive thing. You're going to see this more and more because people, above and beyond anything else, they want a safe space for their children to exist and to play. And when you realize that the police force are neither capable or interested in achieving that, you better achieve it yourself. Instead of calling the police, you better figure this problem out yourself and let them come and sort out the dead bodies when that occurs.
Exactly. And Paul Mooney, he did yep, your buddy.
Oh boy.
He did a little joke. I think he was on one of these nightly comedian type shows. And I want to go play a clip because it seems like, well, it doesn't seem like it is. We understand the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, in order to be considered to speak well, you have to have subject and verb agreement. And when it comes to dealing, first understanding who white folks are, and then appropriately dealing with the situations, we don't have subject and verb agreement. We lack that as a people. And this clip we're going to watch with Paul Mooney, it really exemplifies who it is that we're dealing with. And then we're going to watch another clip by Richard Pryor. Yes.
Look, best friends. Mooney and Pryor.
Yeah. So we're going to share screen. And also, there's the number that is on the ticker that's rolling, that if y'all want to call in, y'all free to give us a call and you'll be on the program. And we can speak with you live. The number's down there, 267-734-6372.
There's no sound.
No sound?
No.
Okay, hold on, let me go back. Okay, let me try it again.
My white neighbor told me a joke, and then I'm finished. And I laughed so hard about her sister, who's a white woman, who baked the chocolate cake for her little white son. And she turned her back. The little white son put chocolate on his face. Said, "Look, Mommy, I'm black." And she slapped him. She said, "Don't you ever say that in this house. Go tell your dad what you said." She said, "Look, Daddy, I'm black." And Daddy slapped him. "Don't you ever say that. You go tell your grandfather what you said." "Look, Grandpa, I'm black." And Grandpa slapped him. "Go back to your mother." And the mother sat him down and said, "Timmy, now what have you learned today?" And Timmy said, "I've learned I've been black for 5 minutes, and already I hate you white people."
Okay, so were you able to hear that, Doc?
Yeah.
Okay, so as he talked about, the little boy Timmy put the chocolate on his face, and they all popped him upside his head for being black. In that joke that he was saying, what do you get out of it that's the underlying message that he's sending?
The underlying message is quite simply that the treatment that black folk have received should result 1 + 1 = 2. What happened to little Timmy 3 different times? Timmy came with the conclusion that I hate you white people because of the brutality that you have, put on me solely for this reason of me having black skin. So Timmy's very clear, as most white folk are. They can add 1 + 1 and make 2. It's all kind that take 1 + 1 and end up with 68, as if we don't have good sense. So it's a logical conclusion that if you are being beaten, you are being brutalized for no other reason than your skin color, you have every right, every reason to hate those who are perpetrating violence against you.
Exactly. And Doc, let me ask you, because you've been in you told us you served on the Jewish Holocaust. I
was a fellow. I was a fellow at the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum in D.C.
Right. Now, do the Jew those that been through that Holocaust, do they hate the Germans? Do you know? Do you think that they hate the Germans?
Most certainly. You don't have to look any further than the if you could sum up their reaction and their resolve, and I'm talking now we're talking what nearly 100 years later, 80 some years later, their mantra of never again lets you know what they're thinking. They're not giving 1 inch, they're not giving 1/4, never again. The fact that they went so far as to hunt down Nazis.
Right. Say that.
In Cleveland, Ohio, we had a guy. His name is John Demjanjuk, and he was known amongst the Nazis by another name. His name amongst the Nazis was Ivan the Terrible.
Mm.
And John Demjanjuk, which is the name he went by here in the States, because many of the members of the National Socialist Party found themselves in the U.S. John Demjanjuk worked at a deli, like a meat market type thing, and there was a lady who was buying some meat, and she said, "I could never forget his voice." And that's how John Demjanjuk was actually apprehended and taken before trial and convicted. Their resolve, if we had their resolve, the world would be black. They have a resolve that is endless, and it would not be a stretch to refer to it as almost bloodthirsty. They will pursue you to the end of the earth. Our people have not, we're a forgiving people. We're a people that you can rationalize with, that you can talk down. You can't talk them down. They mean business. And they mean business not only now, they mean business all the time. Go back and look at they made a TV series about it that I want to say it was Al Pacino in it, called The Nazi Hunters. And they hunted. That is a real thing in a real group.
Now, did they get charged for any of the crimes they committed?
They got charged for all of them that they committed, even though those crimes were not committed on this soil. Yeah.
No, I mean the Nazi hunters, because
no, they weren't charged. They were considered almost Marvel superheroes for tracking them down and doing what they needed to do to strike justice. Yeah.
Wow. So I want our people to really understand what you just said, Doc. That first of all, those Jews who went through their Holocaust for those 3 or 4 years, they hate the Germans. And they don't have a problem with hating them.
No.
Then, even after they done been through that, and the Germans that got away, that was committing the crimes, they hunted them down and produced justice. And they were received as heroes. They were received as good people, got a TV show. Now, we've suffered for hundreds of years at the hand of these white folks. And you let them convince you that hate is wrong. You let them convince you that you should be loving your enemies who plot on you day and night, on your children, who set up systems in place to keep you blind, deaf, and dumb. But you offer them love while they offer you hate. There's a problem with this picture. There's a serious problem with this picture. You know, it's like Jesus and the blind man. He had to put spittle on his eye so that he could see them as they are. Because Jesus asked him, how do you see men? Before the spittle, he said, I see them as trees. Then he put it on his eye and said, how do you see men now? I see them as they are. We got to see these crackers as they are. They're not superhuman beings. They're not like us. They're the epitome of evil. But some of us look at them as they are God. And you submit yourself to the enemy. Now, Doc, when Richard Pryor, because we're going to go to him next. Richard Pryor, this thing says he had a show in 77 and it was canceled after one season. One season. Now, I ain't never seen the show, but if it's like this clip here that we about to get into, Richard Pryor wasn't just no funny comedian. He wasn't just no funny comedian. He was a man more serious about his people and our condition. Now, I have to be honest, I'm not a man that knows Richard Pryor and all of his workings. I don't know. But I'm learning.
Richard Pryor is the greatest comedian to ever live, bar none. The only person that, especially if you're talking about social commentary, the only person that could even stand on a stage with him is Dave Chappelle.
Wow.
Maybe Paul Mooney.
You said maybe Paul Mooney?
Maybe. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Pryor is poignant. I mean, you got to remember that it was Richard Pryor who denounced the usage of the N-word. Said he wasn't going to use it anymore. And he said it grew out of a meeting. He said he was in Africa and he was walking on a road, on a dirt road, and he ran across an African. And the African says, asked him, says, who are you? And Pryor said, I was embarrassed because as a black man, with all the privileges I had, I couldn't answer because I didn't know who I was. And he says, here this African, this uneducated African, he goes and he says, I, points at himself, am we, and points at both of them. That's Pan-Africanism right there. That's an understanding of black solidarity. That's black first right there. That I am we. Regardless of what other division there is out there, I am we.
Perfect. Let's go ahead and check out this clip real quick. Oops.
There you are. Thank you. That's all right. Get over there. Get a blanket and cover up. Anybody else left? Sambo! Sambo! Good show, man. Carry on, Sambo. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's all right.
Hey, Jigaboo, get over here.
Hey, this ain't no paying attention.
I didn't stutter for her head. Help me in the boat.
I just want to say one thing. I find it appalling that you call this man who saved your lives those names that you called him. It's appalling.
Great Scott, man, have you taken leave of your senses? This lifeboat sinking. One of us must leave.
Yes. Oh, I see. Well, throw the nigger overboard then.
Wait a minute now. You ain't throwing this nigga nowhere. Now, if anybody go, it might be the nigga lover, but it ain't gonna be me. I don't know nothing about no boats, and I don't know nothing about no water. And I ain't got no license to run this thing, but I do have something. This here gun. Now, I'm in charge of who's going overboard. Is that understood?
Okay. So did you get that, Doc, or do I need to run it again?
No. I got it. Okay. Classic Pryor.
Yeah. A nigga ain't going nowhere. If anything, it's gonna be the nigga lover.
Yeah, that's classic Pryor.
Well, here you are. Here you are. You got the Titanic sinking, and you got a black man on the lifeboat, and they were calling them, they called them Sambo, you jigaboo, you burrhead nigga, come help me, come help me, come help me. And he helping all these white folks, he's saving them, and they just called them all these names. And then the supposedly nice one, who stood up for him in the beginning, y'all calling him these names and he's saving y'all. Then it got to the boat is sinking. We need to throw somebody over. Throw the nigga over, Now, if that ain't modern day, what it is that we're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, good Lord, man.
Yeah. That's them. That's them. It's hell being black in America.
So at the same time that they sinking, and they know what they think about us, and they still call out to us to save them.
Mm-hmm.
And we save them, it don't change their opinion of us.
No.
And then those ones who supposed to be our friends, our buddies, our comrades, when they get around the rest of them, and it's life or death, get rid of the nigga.
Yeah.
Why is that situation a hard situation, for the majority of our people to understand and grasp a hold to? Because it seems very clear to me.
I mean, let's be honest of who we are. We are by and large abuse victims. And if you look at any child that has been abused, look at any woman, any man, because men are victims of domestic violence as well. The thing that goes ahead and is most befuddling is that they want the approval of those who have abused them.
Mm-hmm.
And they strive for that approval. And black folk, oh my God, we strive, we live for that approval. We have to, we have to get that approval. And it's almost a carrot that is used to keep you in your place, to keep you going down this road of just consistently being abused.
Mm-hmm.
That's who we are. That's how we've been treated. That's how we behaved for the longest of time. And that is just what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And Pryor is, come on, Pryor's right on it. Right on it. We're the victims of abuse. And regardless of how many times someone has shown us that they don't respect us, that they don't want us, we want to believe that all of them can't be bad. That there has to be, this next interaction will be better, or the one after that will be better. We have a belief in humanity, and one could argue that God did us a disservice by making so many of us tenderhearted. You gotta remember that we're the same people who can be like Rodney King, had a brakes beaten off of us and turn around and say, "Can we all just get along?" No, they have no desire. Many of them have no desire to get along with you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Doc, do you think, because I came across an article this week that talked about soybean oil. And it says America's most widely consumed oil causes genetic changes in the brain.
Mm.
And it was saying that the soybean oil that we consume, that we cook with, messes up how you think. It gives you disorders. It affects your neurologically conditions like autism, Alzheimer's, anxiety, and depression. And so my question, as I'm sitting here reading this article and thinking about it, how much have this stuff been inundated and given to us in our food to make us other than who we really are, to make us more docile to accept the unacceptable? Do you think that this is a real problem that we're dealing with in America?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I mean, when you're talking about diet, you're talking about what it is that we're actually consuming. Oh yeah, that's an issue. And it's such an issue that it has been purposely downplayed. If we talk about the idea of who is truly the linchpin to the flourishing of Black America, we have to point to, and I won't even get gender specific, but we got to point to the one that is selecting and producing and cooking our food, because that determines how long you're going to live. That determines what your thoughts are going to be during the day. And we have not done a very good job of listening to those experts, those Black experts who love Black folk, in regards to what it is that we should be eating, what we should not be eating, how we should be preparing it. And until we do a better job of doing that, we're going to continue to suffer from ailments that we lie to ourselves and quite simply say, well, that just run in our family.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're suffering from the same thing that your father and your grandfather and your great grandfather suffered from, because y'all eat hog mugs, pig feet, and all of those types of things.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea of there being an additive, of there being be it soybean oil or what have you, I'm not surprised in the least. But what would surprise me is quite simply if those who are not lower middle class, working class, and poor were utilizing those ingredients. They don't eat that.
Yeah, we definitely have to do something, because according to the FDA, they have been allowing cloned food in the American food system since in the medical since 1996. So some of your pills, your liquid gel caps that people take, those are from cloned animals. That's what those are made from. And so I believe it was 2008, I believe, they've been doing cloned food in the American food system. So, these hamburgers and all this stuff that, people are eating, a lot of that is cloned food. Do you think that is ethical to be able to do that and then do it and don't even make it public notice that, hey, this ain't real, genuine food? You eating this clone food from a cloned animal.
Well, definitely it's not ethical. It is a unethical practice to be doing that, to be serving people things that they don't know of what it is. However, I will say this as well, that there is such a substantial portion of our populace that if they were told, would not fully understand what it is that is being said to them, because they have not taken that step to go ahead and educate themselves about exactly what it is that they should be doing and what is occurring to them and in their bodies. So I think that it goes both ways. A lot of people get mad at me when I talk about this proliferation of single Black female headed households within Black America. I lay that at the feet of Black women. And many of my female students, they just get angry about that. And I tell them, it's not that I don't believe that black men have any responsibility in that equation. However, until you are able to take full ownership of a problem that is directly affecting your life, threatening to destroy you and your familial legacy, you're going to always look for a scapegoat. So no, lay that right at your feet. So you have to deal with it. The health issue, lay it right at our feet. You're responsible for learning, for reading the studies, for looking at this and figuring out what you should and what you should not be doing. But instead of doing that, what we're doing is we're sitting up looking at the BET Hip Hop Awards and talking about that ad nauseum, instead of things that are more substantive and life affirming.
Definitely. And Doc, let me ask you this: since we do have these cloned horses, dogs, pigs, cats, all these cloned animals, how many cloned human beings do you think there is?
I don't know. That is a heck of a question, because this is a part of my private life that I'm into, like that paranormal, in the monsters and stuff like that. That's my psychological release. Like there's Bigfoot, even though I don't believe it, but my daddy say he saw Bigfoot down in Ohio, and Bigfoot almost got him. But the idea of this on the edge of science type thing. I'm also in the fighter planes, and I'm a from that generation of Top Gun, and they're usually 30, 40, 50 years ahead in their technology of planes and what have you, before they notify the public that this is what you were seeing. That wasn't a UFO, that was an SR-71 that you were looking at. That was a B-1 bomber that you saw. I believe that area of science as far as cloning people, probably 100 years ahead, and they'll probably never reveal what it is that they were doing right now. So how many? I don't know. That's something that I don't know enough about to even offer a conjecture, an educated guess about.
Well, one thing for sure, I believe that there are cloned people walking around. I think white folks got in that lab and cloned some, and I think they've been doing it for quite a while, as you said, by them being 100 years in advance. And that's something real, and for those that's in the chat, if I would like to do an unscientific poll, but if you think that white folks have cloned people, go ahead and put in the chat, yes, I think that they have cloned people. If you think that they have not, then put no, I don't think they've cloned people, because we would like to know what your thinking on that subject is. This enemy is a scientific demon, and I definitely believe that they've been out there. They're out there cloning people. There's cloned people walking around right now. We got the Deacons of Reality says yes. Twin Pyramid says yes. Willie Rivers says yes, most definitely. Most definitely. This is where we are.
Yeah,
this is where we are. Okay, Brother Bakari says, I don't think so. All right. We got Deacons of Reality says the Yakub theory is real. Most definitely. Most definitely. It is definitely showing up. It is definitely here. And it's something that we're going to have to deal with. And there's no sitting back. There's no sitting back like they won't do it. Mellow Cap says yes.
Yeah, because
absolutely.
Yeah, because they didn't do they didn't turn this stuff in via campus.
So this something that is a reality that's going to have to be dealt with. Oh, peace and blessings, Brother Roy.
Yes,
Brother
man.
Roy says yes.
That was the one that
Excellent. So, it's good that we are awoken, we are thinking about these things, because this is something that we're going to have to deal with. It's like they did the movie Universal Soldier, which was a clone soldier that was supposed to be, on it in the top killer of everything. These things that they put in the movie gonna be on your front door today, tomorrow, next week, but it's gonna be something that we gotta face. It's gonna be something that we gotta deal with, and we can't be afraid to deal with it. We gotta overcome it like any other challenge, meet it head on, and destroy it. It is just it's the way of the world,
right now.
because they know and they understand that their time is up. And so they want to be able to increase their time, no matter if they can try to get in a little spacecraft and go to Mars and see if they can live in Mars, or go under the water in the little unfit submarine to see if they can do something down there. And as you see the submarine crush, and I guarantee you, they keep going out there trying to go to live on Mars, it's going to blow up on them. Ain't no escaping that. Doc, what do you think about these idiots? They done had their little submarine that crept up, crunched them all up in there into little bitty pieces.
I feel ashamed for myself, to be honest with you, because if them rascals was able to find their way to millions of dollars, how in the world have I not been able to do the same? Because you got to be an absolute idiot to get yourself in a homemade submarine. You going that far? Oh, come on. I wouldn't want to get in a homemade nothing. Mm-mm. Okay. So yeah, this idea of being able to be more, how can I put this? To be bigger than God, to go out and do whatever it is that you think that you can do. You're not God. And Mother Nature, God, whatever force you want to call it, continually reminds them of that fact. You are not God. Mm-hmm. And the idea of, in many ways, what we're really seeing, and you made this comment that they're actually trying to extend their time on Earth, in life, in the land of the living. They're actually trying to decode and turn off the death gene. It's never going to happen. Mm-hmm. You're not God, and you'll never be able to be God and to conquer in that way.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I want to, because you talked about household, and I want to go and deal with this too, because this is a problem. When the failure of the family unit. Mm-hmm. And so when the man is taken out of the home, mm-hmm. you're not producing the proper family. You're mm-hmm. not producing proper people. You're not rolling out good products. So I want to share this clip and come back and let's chop it up. Get your opinion on Sister Shalazar Ali's comments here.
Uh-oh.
To us. And so we married to the government. They take care of us like our man should. They give us food, clothes, shelter, health care, child care, education, an apartment. Whatever it is we need, they step in as our man. And they only do that, as I said, for the two reasons: to make him look inadequate and to make us not want to be bothered with him, to destroy his little ego that he got left, and to make us think that we are better than him. And we'll tell him, I can make it. I don't know why you can't make it. Well, they made us demand things from our man that they systematically keep him from getting. So he can't give it to us. And so we married to the government. They take care of us like our man should. They give us food, clothes, shelter, health care, child care, education, an apartment, whatever it is we need, they step in as our man. And they only do that, as I said, for the two reasons: to make him look inadequate and to make us not want to be bothered with him, to destroy his little ego that he got left, and to make us think that we are better than him. And we'll tell him, I can make it. I don't know why you can't make it. Well, they made us demand things.
So that's Shahrazad Ali, Doc.
Mm-hmm.
And you heard her comments. What do you think about that?
You know, there's something to be said for that. You know, the truth of the matter is that when you're looking at that moment, and we're talking about the late 60s, the early 70s, where we have this Nixon administration idea that what they're really going to do is they're going to implement a social policy of benign neglect. They're going to begin neglecting Black folk for their own good, which is their way of trying to wean us off of quote unquote public assistance. But we, in many ways, if you were to go back a decade, we see a civil rights movement leadership, King, Abernathy, Shuttlesworth, to a lesser extent, working to integrate us out of power. One of the things that we didn't realize, and it's one of the most beautiful moments that you'll see in this great movie called Lackawanna Blues, Hill Harper, who's the narrator of the movie, he says, what we didn't realize is that when every time a white door opened, a Black one closed. So when white business doors open for the Negro dollar, a Black business whose survival depended upon Negro patronage is going to, in every way, struggle. Those were jobs that we lost. Those were the numbers of marriageable Black men going downhill. The issue is much more convoluted than just how she put it. Black men were not able to provide for their families. They had no jobs. They had no opportunity to do any of that. And you see Black women, figuring out a way that they can survive. And unfortunately, you have someone within the government who quite simply said that if you take this money, the Black man can no longer be in the household. So yeah, the spirit of what she's saying is absolutely positively true, that Black men didn't have the opportunity to do that by the late 60s, early 70s.
And Doc, the mechanism to turn that around begins with what?
Circulating the Black dollar, shifting our focus from the soft sciences, humanities, to skills, to creating a niche labor-wise for our people, and to do what other groups have done when they get a economic niche. They don't train other people to take their jobs. They become very, very covetous of that knowledge, of those abilities, to be an electrician, to be a plumber, to be a mechanic, and what have you. And we must circulate the dollar at every turn. Period. There is no room to be unwise with that dollar. And I mean being unwise in regards to where you spend it, being unwise in regards to where you store it and save it, and being unwise in regards to your social responsibility to the community that has in many ways agreed to give you a invisible certificate that says we shall only spend our money in this location. We have to be about building piece by piece by piece by piece with no excuses whatsoever.
And Doc, do you think our Black manhood must be respected, must be protected, must be enforced, at any given moment of time? What
Yeah,
is your thought on that?
you know, the thing is that when we talk about the idea of black manhood is going to kind of stand independent of everything else. But what we're really talking about beyond black manhood is the creation and development and the nurturing and the growing of marriageable black men and marriageable black women. There is a science behind who should and who should not get married. If you're not able to provide and protect your family as a man, you should not get married because you really have nothing to offer them. So the question has to pivot to the idea of how do we make him marriageable? And yet at the exact same time that we're trying to make him marriageable, we also need to have our sisters in line in understanding what the priorities actually are and get away from this idea of measuring a man's worth solely by his pocketbook and understanding that manhood and the role of a man within a household extends much further than just providing and protecting. Those are the bare minimum. What else does he contribute? And I'll give you a perfect example. The husband is going to be the first love of his daughters. He's going to set the foundation for what a man ought to be and ought to do for them as they go out once they reach that age to find a suitable mate, a marriageable man. But right now, what we're dealing with is a harsh reality that without the father being there, black girls have no model of what it is they should be looking for when they look for a mate. And black boys are being raised up in households and situations where they have no understanding of what it means to be a man. And it always takes me back to the same quote of Jawanza Kunjufu, that single black women tend to raise their daughters and love their sons.
Wow. Well, we're going to go to these, to a few clips to play, and then we'll talk about them. Because as we talked about earlier, we have to come out of this condition. So this first video, let's check it out. Whoops.
You start pressing me, I'll beat you behind. That's the way I feel, man. You don't take away my manhood. Come on. Elijah Muhammad was making a man out of me, and if you try to make me a punk, I'll kill you. I don't give a damn who you are. Don't try to punk me off, whether you're a captain or lieutenant. I'm a man, goddammit, and you treat me like a man. Money, I don't like that. I don't like no white man telling me you owe me. And nigga, where's the payment? You know, if you start pressing me, I'll beat you behind. That's the way I feel, man. You don't take away my manhood. Come on. Elijah Muhammad was making a man out of me. If you try to make me a punk, I'll kill you. I don't give a damn who you are. Don't try to punk me off, whether you're a captain or lieutenant. I'm a man, goddammit, and you treat me like a man. Money.
All right, so there you go, Doc. We had Minister Farrakhan talking about debt and manhood. What's your thoughts on what you heard?
You know, the thing is that when you're talking about a man, you're talking about manhood, you're talking about being straight and being upright. You're talking about being unyielding and unbending. And unfortunately, this goes back to something that I was saying earlier, the idea of needing some economic independence. Because without that economic independence, to be able to stand on your own square and to not compromise whatsoever, because they have something materially over your head, which is quite simply their paycheck. It's one of the reasons why we need to be very good stewards of our money. Because quite simply, if we're not, and we're doing paycheck to paycheck, you're going to have to do whatever you got to do to get that paycheck. And there are some ghastly things that people are going to demand that you do as a man to collect that paycheck.
And do you think that it's okay? Now, let me ask you this. You know, we've all grew up in our household with our dads, and you know, it get to a point where You may be smelling yourself, or maybe dad may think you may be smelling yourself.
Smelling your pits.
Exactly. You know, and it's like, hey, look here. There's only one man in this house. And if you can't submit, you can't whoop my ass. I guess you better hit that door or do what the hell I say. You know? So Pop letting it know real clear, there's only one authority here, and it ain't you, it's me. In America, Doc, do you believe that the white man says the same thing? It's only going to be one man in this household, nigga, and it damn sure ain't going to be you. And let me show it to you.
Yeah, most certainly. I think that occurs in various situations, at various moments, and in various ways. Most certainly. Most certainly. There's no doubt whatsoever about that. You know, and you can I'll say it this way. I had a professor at Ohio State who, you want to talk about two individuals who probably shouldn't have been in the same room. I think his name was Eugene Watts. Me and Eugene Watts shouldn't have been in the same room because we couldn't stand each other. Okay. And I remember one class where he goes into this litany about how he was down there during Freedom Summer. He was there with Stokely. He was there with such a. And I hated him so much, even though he was the professor. I said, yeah, if he was down there, he was working for the FBI. Okay. He took issue with that. Now, after our exchange, you know, graduate class, we go ahead and we have a situation where we would break in the middle of the class, take a 10, 15-minute break because the class was 2 hours long. So we come back. Well, we go out on break. And so many of my classmates on the sly come up to tell me I was right. But they wouldn't tell me that I was right in his presence. And I would tell them, I'm like, yo, man, don't talk to me behind closed doors. Say what you're going to say in public.
Exactly.
No, bro, you was right, though. But you was right, you know. But you're trying to skirt having your grade lowered. You know, and in many ways, that's a different form of what it is that you're talking about. Normally, it occurs in regards to your paycheck and in regards to your job. That if they need to thump you on your head, they'll go ahead and take the job from you. And do it in a way that makes it look like it's your fault.
Exactly.
And you're just sitting up in here heartbroken, wondering how you're gonna pay your next bills. And the thing is that, how does that change you? How does that change us as a people? Because quite simply, you're sitting here not knowing how you're gonna make it. So next time you're in this situation and you lucky enough that we decide to hire you, are you gonna speak up then? Most people won't do it again.
Crazy. You know, Doc, I've always believed no matter where I worked, no matter, you know, what I did, you got to just tell it and let it be known, period, point blank. Because when you compromise, you know, you compromise and then you can't be real to yourself.
Yep.
And you can't be real to yourself. You can't be real to nobody else. And it seems to me that a lot of us, men, I'm just speaking men, you know, we compromise when we should never compromise. You know, we oh man, you know, like the dudes, you know, they come to you, you know, out of the public, gonna come to you in private. Yeah, you was right. But when you was in public and you were standing, they found a convenient excuse to lay down. And it's this what I call this punctified behavior. It's that never should be accepted. And so how do we as men discipline those who don't have the discipline to be a man, to stand up and let's get it? How do we discipline them so they understand what manhood means and what it is that they got to be able to do to even, you know, to be with the crew? How do we do that?
You know, I just think that you have to position yourself to be unyielding. But there is something to be said for having a a situation where individuals are already grown, and either you got it or you don't have it. And so many of them don't have it and won't go through any measure or trials and tribulations to get it. I just think that's something that you are raised with in your home. I believe that is a core value that you're raised with, and it's either instilled and downloaded into you or it's not. Because if it's not, you're unanchored and you're wishy-washy in regards to not only that but everything else, and you're therefore unreliable. Because as soon as the pressure gets turned up, you're gonna go whichever way has the least amount of pressure. That's the way you're going to escape. You'll turn your back upon those you were just standing in solidarity with. So I believe that those who are cowardly, who have no moral compass that they adhere to, they can never be trusted. Never.
That's right. That's right. I want to go, still sticking on manhood, but this next clip, you got a son, I got children, and there's times like today is my oldest son's birthday, Rasul, and happy birthday, son. But I sent him a birthday message, and I was telling him that it takes hard trials to establish truth, and you have to go out here every day and establish the truth of who you are, as a man, not as a boy, but as a man. You got to establish your truth of who you are, how you deal with problems, how you conquer and overcome. And, as fathers, our children come to us, daddy this, daddy that, or they get into trouble. And, we got to be there to guide them, pull them out, however we deal with it, but that's on us. And I want you to listen to this brother talking to his daughter, and as he gives her, his fatherly words, and let's come back and discuss it.
You making me feel like this, and then you're gonna make me not come talk to you no more.
Sweetie, that time that you got caught doing that real bad stuff, you came and talked to me. That time that teacher told me this stuff, you came and talked to me. So it's never going to be a time that you can't talk to me. But I also want you to know I'm your father. I am not your friend. I am not here to heal your nasty wounds. I'm here to pour alcohol in them and show you that you should never got cut in the first place. Because again, I love you. I'm nice. Your mama love you.
Hold on, we're not going to skip over that just yet. I'm not here to heal your nasty wounds. I'm here to pour alcohol on them and let you know that you shouldn't have gotten cut in the first place.
Now I'm coming to talk to you, and you making me feel like this, and then you're gonna make me not come talk to you no more.
Sweetie, that time that you got caught doing that real bad stuff, you came and talked to me. That time that teacher told me this stuff, you came and talked to me. So it's never going to be a time that you can't talk to me. But I also want you to know I'm your father. I am not your friend. I am not here to heal your nasty wounds. I'm here to pour alcohol in them and show you that you should never got cut in the first place. Because again, I love you. I'm nice. Your mama love you.
Hold on, we're not going to skip over that just yet. I'm not here to heal your nasty wounds. I'm here to pour alcohol on them and let you know that you shouldn't have gotten cut in the first place.
All right, Doc. What say you?
No, I applaud that. It reminds me of me talking with my son. And it is quite simply the idea of, number one, I'm not your friend. Okay, we're not buddies. We're not at the same level. In regards to healing your wounds, I'm here to pour alcohol on them. I like that because quite simply, it should sting. It should hurt. Because trust me, if you had followed the correct course of action, you would have never gotten cut in the first place. And ultimately, it's the exact same thing that I was talking about previously, except for extreme circumstances. I lay whatever happened right at your feet so that we can examine it and see what happened, to see what the cause was, to see what the cure could be, to see what the preventive steps could have been to avoid all of this. That's parenting. That's preparing your child to be able to make it in this world. Because let's be honest, we're not going to be here forever. And what we pour into our child will hopefully be poured into the next generation, the next generation, and the next generation. The idea of everything is going to be all right, well, that's not real life. However, you have no choice but to survive unless you're willing to die behind what just happened. So those are the, and it's imperative that we love our children somewhat from an emotional base, but we guide and we mentor them from a logical space in our brain, in our minds, that we utilize all of the cuts and scrapes and bruises that we got to advise them in regards to what they should look out for going forward. Unfortunately, we have so many individuals who are so silly minded and they haven't learned anything from their cuts and their bruises and their scrapes, and they're willing to allow the next generation to you won't just have to learn and blah. That's not true. We're supposed to be a guiding factor in regards to this. And when you want to talk about love ain't always going to be nice and packaged in a bow and said sweetly to you. Love is going to sometimes be very stern and cause you to have to stand up with some backbone. Some of the most loving things that I've ever heard, and I didn't understand that they were loving until 20, 30 years later, began with this statement. And this is my father, James Thomas Jones, the second favorite statement. And when he say this, you better listen because he pissed. I'll tell you what. If you hear that, he means exactly what he's saying. And he know what he's saying. I'll tell you what. And when he says that, here come a dosage of love. It may taste like castor oil, 3 6s. But thou shalt be changed after you hear, I'll tell you what. And that's exactly how he says, I'll tell you what. And it's on once you hear that, yeah.
I know that's real. I know that's real. Doc, what about this notion that you're supposed to be the child's best friend? And as you heard the father tell the girl, I'm not your friend, I'm your father. Is there supposed to be this friendship thing with the children? How is that supposed to play out?
No, you ain't supposed to be friends with your kids, with your children. I kind of shy away from calling them kids as a result of our brother Ozzy, who said, you know what a kid is? A kid is a miniature billy goat. Calling them kids. So I try to avoid, in honor of that brother, try to avoid the idea of calling them kids. No, you should have a camaraderie, a cordial relationship. You can have a good time together. But friends is something totally different. Damon Thomas is my best friend in the world, and the conversations that I have with him, I would never have with my son. Now I have good times with both of them. And at times I've had to advise both of them according to certain things. And at times Damon has advised me according to certain things. Like, I don't think you're looking at this one correctly. So no, being your child's friend, that's weird. That's, but I know people who seemingly do it. They go out to clubs with their parents. They drink with their parents. They party with their parents. That's the erosion of some lines. And I believe that if you were to take all of those lines together and piece them together, that you would spell the word respect. Because there are some arenas and some views and some situations and circumstances that a child should be able to stay in a child's place. I don't care if that child is 50 years old. You shouldn't be involved in adult activities and adult conversations and what have you. That's when lines start getting crossed. So no, I love my son. I will die for my son right at this moment for him to live. But he is not, and I repeat, he is not one of my friends.
Exactly. Doc, let me ask you, who do you think would be, for Black men, the perfect example of fatherhood? Where would, if they were looking to find that, where would you suggest them to go?
Oh, the perfect example of fatherhood? God? A provider, a person who is always there for you that you can call upon, but has the wisdom and the foresight to be able to allow you to go through some trials and tribulations, and always has his eye upon you to make sure you can make it through. One of the interesting things my father said to me once about a relationship I was coming out of. I was getting a divorce, and of course, they gave her my son and all of that. And my father said the one thing that hurt him the most was that I often behaved and acted like I didn't know if I would make it through. And he said, that's beneath you. Of course you're going to make it through this like you made it through everything else. He said, I wanted you to increase your faith in who you were and what you had inside of you. And so that to me is fatherhood. That to me is guidance. He didn't jump in the fray with me. He didn't fight the battle for me, but I always knew he was there. And it's sort of it reminds me of the great song that, in their rendition, is the one that I love the most. Eddie and Gerald Levert, "Wind Beneath My Wings." It must have been cold there in my shadow. And as parents, that's what we are. We're in that shadow, and we're encouraging you, and we're only going to step in when things are out of hand.
Right.
And we're going to try to prevent you from getting so far out there that we can't get you back as Black men. So there are just so many elements of fatherhood. I mean, I can, the person who my father most resembles in regards to his actions and in the way that he talks is Fred G. Sanford. That's my father. Wow. If you go back and you look at 227 and you look at the Jeffersons, you look at Florence, that's what my mother was like. And so I was constantly getting lessons, although they were comedic lessons, and much of it was harsh love and what have you. But I knew they were always there. And I knew to in many ways just stay the course. And I do that to this day. I just stay the course because I trust in God, and I know that I'm going to be all right at the end, one way or the other. It's a win-win for me. Either I conquer this or I go be with my ancestors. And so the whole idea of, you can point to, I know many people, I know the Me Too movement and all that, they'll be very upset about this, but you can look at Heathcliff Huxtable. You could look at, I think, an element of this fatherhood model that would be perfect. You can look at John Amos from Good Times, James Evans. You can look at Phil from the great, the Fresh Prince of Bel Air. All of
Right.
these brothers are exhibiting in one way or another in their own style what fatherhood is. And I think that a big part of it is in the one commonality that you have with each of these men that I just mentioned from TV sitcoms is that they were there. And when I say that they were there, they may not have even been in the house, but their
Mhm.
presence was still there. It means something for your child to know if anything happens, I can pick up that phone, and not guaranteeing that he can solve it, but he'll be here.
Mhm.
I have a warrior, a champion he's at my beck and call. And there's a emboldening that happens when you know that you have that
Exactly.
you got some backup if you need to call on this backup. Okay.
Mhm.
But understand, if you break this glass, you letting the Tasmanian devil up out here, and he ain't gonna have no understanding about nothing that's gonna happen to you. And that's a wonderful position to be in as a child.
Right.
I heard a sister say it this way. She said, we were at a club and didn't know anybody up in this club, and that creates its own issues for black men and black women, but black women
Mhm.
in particular because of their lack of physical stature often. And she says that somebody that had dated a cousin or whatever happened to be there. And he came over to their table and he says, "Y'all good?" And she said, just that acknowledgement that, yo, I'm here if you need me,
Mhm.
okay, means the world. And I think that that's one of the reasons, to be honest with you, why it is so important that black folk take a moment when they are passing each other to acknowledge each other.
Mhm.
Because when it go down, rest assured, we all you got, and you
Exactly.
all that we got. And so much of this infighting has to stop, because now we've let it get to a point where we have black women who are actually on camera saying that they pray they don't have a boy because all of the problems that come to the black community come from males. We've gone sick and crazy in our minds, brother. Sick and crazy.
Exactly. Exactly. Doc, what about this new, I'm not going to say call it new, but this strategy that is being promoted that you're not allowed to, or you shouldn't spank your child? That's a no-no. I've heard black people say, that's going back. You another slave master if you whooping your child. You're
Mhm.
teaching your child to be violent.
Mhm.
And those things, of course, I disagree with. But what's your thoughts on that? They'll say the government won't let me whoop my child. What's your thought?
My thing is that it's got to be constructive criticism.
Mhm.
It's got to be something in there involved with teaching them what to do, not just punishment for something that has happened. Um, I was, and you've heard me during my introductions, I'm Captain Viola Jones's baby boy. I was the oldest, I was the only male grandchild in our family for a long time. I had one cousin, my cousin Bakari, but he moved to Dallas.
Mhm.
And one of my aunts, my Aunt Angie, who I love dearly, my Aunt Angie said that they can't ever remember me crawling
Mm.
because my aunts carried me everywhere.
Wow.
Okay. And all I had to do was look or point in a direction, and they would come and pick me up, and they would transport my little fat ass back over there to wherever it is that I thought that I wanted to go. And so I wasn't one, and they wasn't going to let you beat me or whoop me. That wasn't going to happen. I was their
Mm.
baby boy. Um, However, we have this thing, and there's a something that is usually attributed to women, and it,
Mhm.
it is called the resting bitch face. I'm a Jones man. And many people, especially my students, when they first meet me, they invariably say, yo, I was scared as hell the first time I met you, just by how you looked. We call it the Jones look. We don't have to say anything. You know when you're out of order. And you know when you're perilously close to getting these paws put on you.
Right.
So keep on. My grandfather, the original James Thomas Jones, he had a look that would make you defy gravity. You would stop in the middle of your jump and settle right down into that spot where you were at. So, as far as whipping children, I will say it this way: I was never whipped. However, I have the wisdom to understand that parents know what is inside of their children and they can see what is inside of their children. Now, I'm not telling you to fight your child, but if you know that child could withstand some correction within the house to keep the police from correcting them outside of the house, by all means, do what you need to do to protect our village and protect the children in our village.
Definitely, definitely. Doc, are Black people visible in America?
No, we're not visible. And I say that from the position of Ralph Ellison's The Invisible Man, that people really don't see Black folk. We don't even see each other. What we do is we apply to these Black bodies that we're seeing that are passing us by, that are eating in a restaurant next to us, that are having, God forbid, brunch somewhere. We ascribe our fears about them that we develop within this society, and we pin them on them as if they are decals and stickers. This person's ghetto, this person's this person's that, never realizing that you could be looking at a scientist, a nuclear physicist. And unfortunately, to combine it with the idea of Black people being invisible, let's be honest, most Black folk, especially, well, I won't even say Black women, especially Black men as well, are doing what Paul Laurence Dunbar referred to as wearing the mask that grins and lies. And eyes are tears and shades are eyes. Why should the world be ever wise? We wear the mask. In many ways, it is a mask that so many people are putting on. So many men put on this machismo mask of I'm big and I'm bad, and knowing good and well that they're scared of the world. It is a mask that Black women put on where they go out into the world and around their brothers. Some of them younger than them, some of them the same age, some of them are older than them. And they put a scowl on their face intentionally, refuse to make contact, refuse to smile, refuse to interact with them. Because she has instantaneously put the same negative caricatures and descriptors on Black men that she knows nothing about. Missing out on her blessing. And Lord knows Black women need to speak to every Black man they come across if they want to get a husband.
Wow. I want to go to this next clip and let's check this out. Now, here's an experiment between the Black and the white child. So in the video, you see the Black child standing there and nobody pays her any attention. But the white girl stands there, and then everybody comes to check on her to say, "Hey, are you okay? Are you all right? Where's your parents? Why are you by yourself?" And so you're dealing with this invisibility. This is a problem. How do we? First of all, is it really a problem? Doc, is it really a problem? And if it is, what is the solution to this problem?
The thing is that when you really add it up, everything is more difficult when you're Black. Okay. I use the idea of Ralph Ellison's thing to talk about how even when they see Black bodies there, they ascribe them the most negative characteristics and connotations that one could ever imagine for a human being. In this situation right here, we're seeing a Black child literally be rendered invisible because white world supremacy in many ways discounts their safety. And one of the academic studies that was done recently talked about how the reason that the juvenile justice system is so harsh upon Black children is that the average Black child is looked at in the white mind and white imagination as if they are 4 to 6 years older than they actually are. But this right here is a total disregard whatsoever for the safety of a child, because that child happens to have Black skin. And there's nothing that you can do about that, because quite simply, you're talking about a socialization process that has happened over 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years for these individuals that we're looking at. There's no way to easily undo that. Now, put within this on the spotlight, they say, "Oh no, this." No, your natural inclination was not to look out for this child, not to aid this child, and we're left with no other choice and no other reasonable choice than to quite simply say you don't give a damn about that child because that child happens to be Black, and you're wrong for that.
Exactly. Now I want to go to this next video, and I want you to just tell me what you see right, what you see wrong. This is the segment where Doc is the judge, and so he's going to judge this case on parenting. And Doc, do you think there's a man in the home? If there was a man in the home, would there be something different?
Wait. You wait. Listen. Did you pee in that pull-up? Listen. Did you? Okay. Listen here. Did you pee in that pull-up? Okay, that's all you had to say in the first place. Get your out of here. Did you pee on yourself? Girl. Huh? Look at Grandma. Look. Did you pee in that pull-up? Listen. Did you pee in that pull-up? Wait a minute. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, you not listening to me? Oh, really? Wait. Wait. You wait. Listen. Did you pee in that pull-up? Listen. Did you? Okay. Listen here. Did you pee in that pull-up? Okay, that's all you had to say in the first place. Get your out of here.
All right, Doc. What say you? What's your judgment on this household? What you just saw?
I understand the idea of banter and playfulness within our community, but at the exact same time, I also understand that silliness is an appetite that is developed. And I believe that that's what you're seeing occur right there. That here you have a child who is in many ways mimicking and mocking the things that she's seen. And she has to have seen these things within this household.
Mm-hmm.
And there's very little efficiency, very little seriousness that is going on in regards to that. Nothing is being taught to that child outside of silliness, and that you're able to be disrespectful and talk back, and to basically do a baby twerk, and to
Right.
get adoration from others because of that type of behavior. That's a chilling and troubling situation. Now, in regards to if there's a man involved, I don't know. The man isn't righteous, isn't
Mm-hmm.
upright, isn't looking down the road 10, 20 years if he is there, because he would have stamped that out right there. And there's something that has to be said for Black folk, because this we're dealing with a grandmother. There's something
Right.
that needs to be said for seriousness, and in many ways getting yourself into a situation where you're you're taking life serious. You are a grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
Show the way, lead the
Mm-hmm.
way. I would, best case scenario for me is quite simply that this is maybe one out of 100 times that they interact like this. I don't believe that to be true, but the righteous part, the part that wants Black America to be uplifted, has to believe that,
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise there is no hope for us. Because I guarantee you the grandmother was raised that way, and she raised her child that way, and then they're going to raise this child that way. That's going to raise the, it is. It reminds me of Grand Verbalizer Funkin' Lesson Brother Jay from X Clan, where he says ignorance is not a trend.
Mm.
And in many ways, that's what we're seeing. We're seeing the abdication, the loss of cultural values, norms, being replaced by silliness and foolishness.
Mm. And Doc, by that baby, as you said, was doing a little twerk there.
Mhm.
That's just,
And they laughed at it.
exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's positive reinforcement. That's what you want to do. When you get in trouble, go ahead and shake your ass.
Mm, mm, mm.
Show them what you're working with.
Exactly. Exactly. This is another way of erosion, and this behavior does not produce freedom.
No.
This behavior doesn't produce it. It doesn't reflect it. And so that how would you put that message in a way that those that see it won't sit back and be like, yeah, hey, come here, let me teach mine how to do it. How do you relate that to them that they don't so that the common person would understand this is not what we do. This doesn't show that you're free.
I just think that you show them. It reminds me of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's admonishment of Brother Malcolm. When he says,
Mhm.
Malcolm, you're too talkative, you're too argumentative. He says, all you have to do is show them your clean glass, not pointing out their dirty glass. Show them the clean glass, and then show them the results that come off of that clean glass.
Mm.
What are the results and the benefits of a clean life? And I think that I know that we do a disservice to a clean, productive, progressive life when we allow it to be marred by inefficiency and poor results.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I want to, we got two little clips, and then we're going to wrap up. I want to go ahead and share these two little clips and come back and discuss them. Okay, so I'm gonna break this down. Here you see a big dog, this one right here. This is the big dog. And this little black one over here is the little dog. Now, the big dog jumps on the little black dog. But then you have a cat, little white cat that's going to come to the little black dog's rescue. So let's watch it again. So the cat beats up the bigger dog, and the bigger dog goes running off. Now, this is animal life. This animal life. But the dog and the cat is enemies. But the cat attacks the bigger dog because he's attacking the little dog. Doc, if animals can understand this on their level, why we can't understand it on ours when we're dealing with an enemy attacking not somebody we don't know? When we see the enemy attacking our loved ones, instead of having the fight of the cat, we find an convenient excuse to lay down.
Yeah, but I think that what you're recognizing is quite simply the cat has fight in him. The cat has aggressiveness in him, and it's going to bring it to you anyway, anyhow. Even when the size and the odds are against it, be aggressive, attack. Long before the incident occurs, whatever the incident is, our people have been taught to stand down. They've been warned. Don't get in trouble. Don't get killed out there. Because there is a reasonable expectation that if you do get involved, it ain't gonna end well for you. And if you do survive the confrontation, they're gonna put you in a jail cell forever. And Black folk do not have the infrastructure to go ahead and do anything to aid you. You are at the beck and call and whim of either white folk or Black folk who work for white folk. We need to be as tenacious as that cat, not only in regards to physical confrontation, but economic confrontation, political confrontation, every form of confrontation that one could ever imagine. But instead of doing that, we remain meek and mild and hope that the big dog don't jump on us next. We have no fight in us.
That's true. That's true. We definitely have to change that. In this next video, let's just look at it and then come back and talk.
I'll be on the ground. I was on the ground. One officer kicked me in my side, in my right side, kneed me in my right side as I was on the ground.
What's going on, officer? Can you talk to me? Can you talk to me, please?
At one point during the scuffle, a JSO officer is heard saying, "We're trying to figure out what's going on as well." Jackson says 30 minutes later, police let her go and told her it was a case of mistaken identity because of her hair color. She says one JSO officer said he was sorry, but she says her family is still traumatized by what happened in their own home.
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Can somebody please help me? Please! Oh my God!
It's absolute mayhem inside Christy Jackson's house just after midnight on Thursday, after Jackson says sheriff's officers forced their way inside her apartment without a warrant, taking her down to her kitchen floor with force.
They literally slung me on the ground. I was on the ground. One officer kicked me in my side, in my right side, kneed me in my right side as I was on the ground.
What's going on, officer? Can you talk to me? Can you talk to me, please?
At one point during the scuffle, a JSO officer is heard saying, "We're trying to figure out what's going on as well." Jackson says 30 minutes later, police let her go and told her it was a case of mistaken identity because of her hair color. She says one JSO officer said he was sorry, but she says her family is still traumatized by what happened in their own home.
And there you have it. And I want to read this comment over here, Doc, because this comment really says a lot. It says, "A man kicking a woman, and that's okay? Question mark. You will not sleep well, sir, for the rest of your life. Your thoughts, Doc?
There's you got to protect your home. You stand your ground regardless of if it's law enforcement officers or if it's a common thief or burglar. And there really isn't much difference between a common thief and burglar and these individuals that we're seeing right here. Once again, this takes us right back to the idea of Black folk having an infrastructure to be able to respond in some way to this. In a perfect world, they would be lucky if the response would be a political and legal one. In the world that should exist, they should never sleep well or even come out of their house without looking over their shoulder ever again. But that type of diligence and that type of commitment flows from solidarity. And this is the reason why Black folk need to start acknowledging each other, acknowledging the humanity of you. That, hey, yo, I recognize your ancestors made it through. I'm glad to see you. I love you. Mm-hmm. Versus how we do it right now, mean mugging one another, disrespecting each other, trying to show off that we got a European purse or we got this kind of car or this or that, and that's where we get our esteem from. Your esteem should come from solidarity with one another, to understand that you can go anywhere in this nation, and if anything happens to you, we got your back. We're already prepared to deal with whatever could occur to you. And we're going to deal with it instantaneously in that moment, and we're going to deal with it long term through the legal process if we have to. Mm-hmm. It's about being prepared. It's about building an infrastructure. It's about solidarity. And the most frustrating thing about all of this is that nothing that I'm saying is new. It's what I've learned from reading and studying others. Just when are we going to follow through and apply those lessons instead of sitting around here having mental masturbation sessions over and over and over again about what should happen, what could happen, and nobody gets about the business of putting the first piece of wood down, the first nail in this much needed infrastructure that we need in every Black community in every state around this nation.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And Doc, we've heard the different sayings. So we heard that freedom can't be given to you, and can't emancipation means from chains, but not from my control. We've heard these sayings around. When our ancestors were so-called free, mm-hmm. What was that really? Was that a real freedom, or was it make-believe? What is the real status of Black people in America? What is
real status of Black people in America is the same status that the 4 million that quote unquote went free with the ending of the U.S. Civil War. You are you're slaves economically, and when you're marginalized economically within a capitalist nation where money is power, you're in a bad way. That is what your actual status is. That you're not free to do whatever it is that you want to do. You're not free to even say what it is that you want to say. That is what your actual status is. And the unfortunate thing about that being your actual status is that even that is good enough for many of our people. And as long as that's good enough for many of our people, we'll never be able to go free. And the freedom is not solely dictated on economic might. Freedom is going to be dictated on your ability to go outside of your house and to have assurances that nothing bad is going to happen to you or anyone else you know within your community, because you control the politics, the economics, the education, and the law enforcement within your community. That each of those entities is there to serve you. We're nowhere near that. Not at all.
And Doc, since you did bring up economics, I want to ask this question real quick before we go to our closing. With the dollar now, the world was buying oil based on the dollar. Well, that is gone. And I know some African countries are using their own currency to do trade and stuff like that. And Russia and China then got together and convinced some other countries, Saudi Arabia and a few others, to stop using dollars to buy and sell, especially with the oil. And since the dollar is so connected to that, and now that has been removed, then we have this coming in now with this digital currency, and certain places will no longer accept cash money. There's a few government parks that will not accept cash money. Everything has to be digital, or you're not welcome there. Understanding that, how do you see that when it comes to terms of our economics beginning to turn? We know that America has, went to war over their currency. I don't think America has the stomach to go against China and Russia both at the same time. But these things are happening against the dollar in real time, and we'll be feeling those pains shortly here in America. What is your thoughts on that, and what should Black people do to prepare for what is coming ahead?
I can't with authority advise Black folk on what they should be doing. And that's the honest truth. And I won't sit here and act like, I know the solution is. I can't with authority say that one thing that I can say is that considering our previous behavior and our previous positionality in regards to this nation, we're ensnared in a net within America. Now, as to how we escape that net, I don't know. And it's one of this, and this is one of those moments for me. I'm reminded back when the preacher was the only semi-educated individual, semi-literate within the community. Everybody went to the preacher to talk to them about what it is that we should do. We're past that point, thank God. I wouldn't trust my analysis or my understanding of this matter at all, and I would lob it into the sphere of an economist who could comment upon this with authority. And that would be one of the things that, if we're going to talk about that, something like that, I would want us to go and find us an economist who could come on here and could speak with authority and give some understanding and direction to our people as to the direction that we should be going in regards to these larger global things. Now, if you want to talk to me about history, I got you. But as far as economics, no, I ain't got you. And I'm big and bad and bold enough to be able to say no. I can't advise anybody with authority in regards to what it is they should be doing right now in regards to these multinational and international currency exchanges.
Okay, excellent. Thanks, Doc. Okay, and with your closing comments, can you also provide to the grandmother that we saw in the video and the sisters that we saw in the last video that were being, attacked by the police who did not have a warrant, and then the grandmother who was dealing with a grandbaby, what they need to do in those situations to produce the proper outcome. The proper outcome for the grandmother, of course, would be a well-mannered, straight up honest child, a productive citizen. And for the police situation, how do you deal with that, accordingly?
Okay. Once again, everybody, this is the highlight of my week to be able to come here and interact with you guys. Thank you for your support that you've given us. Thank you. If you could spread the word about the show, that'd be great for us. Now, in regards to the questions that you asked, I'll deal with the latter one first. in regards to the police kicking down the door, you need to have some legal recourse. You're going to have to sue them. You're going to have to address that, because to be able to come in and brutalize and beat you and then turn around and simply 30 minutes later say, "Oh, we sorry, it was your hair color," you should be paid for that. Let me just say it that way. In a nation where money, cash rules everything around me, go ahead and take some of their money. That's not going to be justice. And we don't have any hitters, any reliable hitters within our community to deal with that. So go for some money. That would be that. As far as the grandmother goes, and I would say any parent goes, you need to be looking forward 5, 10, 15, 20 years. What's the end product that you want? If the end product that you want is somebody hanging on a stripper pole twerking, well, that child's well on her way to achieving that goal that you have of hers. But if it is an educated, intelligent person capable of breaking a generational poverty cycle, you need to do some other things. Begin programming your child. Begin instructing your child according to where you foresee them being in the end. And I think that we'd be on the right path if we did that way.
Excellent. Thank you, Doc. And I also, I don't remember if I did it earlier, but I want to welcome Earth Angel 1105 Remix. Welcome, peace and blessings. We're glad that you're here. We're glad that everybody that showed up today and added your comments into the comments became a part of the show. As you can see on the ticker that's running at the bottom of the screen, that there's the phone number that you can always call in if you would like to add your commentary, not just in the chat, but if you want to talk to us very loud and proud, you're welcome to do that, and we'll allow you on the program. My closing comments that I have, we as a people, freedom is never given. Freedom is something that you take. And so throughout the program, we wanted to show you different situations. We talked about, Doc pointed out earlier about the Jew and how the Jew does not have love for the German. The Jew hates the German. The Jews, they decided to get a group, Nazi hunters, and they went out and searching for those who committed crimes and brought them to justice. And we showed the video where Paul Mooney was saying what the white neighbors said, and the child, pa, I would hate y'all too because you're violent. We pointed out with Richard Pryor, it was calling me Sambo nigga, Burrhead, come help us. And then the white one that was supposed to be your buddy, when they were talking about, we got to get somebody off because we sinking. He was, throw the nigga overboard. See, we got to understand that the messages have been out there. Is our response to the messages that's been out there that's been off track. And we got to get it on track. So we got to understand that we have to take charge. Don't sit back and wait for somebody else to take charge. You take charge. You regulate things and you put it into order. And so, to address, I think it was Deacon earlier comment about, what's taking D1 so long. There has been sabotage, amongst us, and we didn't find it out until late, and trying to rectify the damage that was done. But we're still moving along. We done made it slow down a little bit, but we're still moving along, and it's coming. And all these things that we say, trust and believe, you'll see it all. It will be manifest. But just how the enemy knows how to work and how to get up to you and send somebody to you to derail what you're trying to do. We've been through a lot. We've been through a lot of ups and downs, but we're still moving. And we're still making it happen. So, it's coming. Believe it, trust and believe it's coming. As we always say, you kill the nigga in you, I'm going to kill the nigga in me, and our God will reign supreme. We are Black first, today, tomorrow, and forever. We love you, family. Peace and blessings. Assalamu alaikum. Shalom.
Peace.
Peace.